Today on the podcast, I am joined by an old friend of the show who I'm very excited to catch up with and talk about the Boston Bruins with. The Bruins are in Arizona tonight, which should be a victory, but we will see. And just a bunch of stuff to catch up on today's episode. So let's get into it.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available on all podcast platforms. So if you're an Apple user, Spotify, Pocket Cast is what I use. Please do smash that subscribe button. Each new episode will be automatically added to your feed for you to download, listen, and enjoy. If you want to toss a rating and a review up as well, that would be very much appreciated. The podcast is also available in video form on YouTube. So search up Locked On Bruins and subscribe over there as well. On today's podcast, going to kind of preview tonight's game against the Arizona Coyotes, which, like I said off the top, should be a win, but you never know in today's NHL. And very excited to be joined by an old friend of the podcast who hasn't been on in quite some time, regrettably. And I'm very happy to have her back on today. Welcome back to the podcast, Caylee Allard. Hi, Caylee. How are you?
Hey, Ian, I'm great. How are you on this Friday?
Doing all right. It's extremely cold out right now. And our cat Bessie is actually getting spayed today. So she's at the vet.
Lucky her.
We're all eager to welcome her back to the house. But yeah, other than that, not too much going on. Well, let's just get it out of the way. What's new with you, Caylee? Big news in Caylee land.
Yeah, so I actually just accepted an offer to work for Bleacher Report this week. I got the news on Monday and it's official now. So I did make the announcement. My title with them will be an app programmer for the NHL. I'll be doing all the NHL content in the mobile app, sending out notifications. So if you have the app, that's going to be me blowing up your phone with news and highlights and stuff. So really cool. But I do have to relocate to New York City. So it's going to be a big move and a big change, but I'm kind of from the area. I'm from Connecticut, so Not too foreign, and I have family there and a lot closer to Boston. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah, that's very cool. I was saying off mic before we started that's pretty similar to the job that I did at the Score up here in Toronto, and it was very fun. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it and also kill it. I'm sure you're going to do that as well. That's really cool. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
So it's been a while since we chatted. I think the last time you were on was back when the Bruins were playing the Hurricanes in the bubble, just after like Tuukka Rask left the bubble and all that stuff. Quite a lot has changed for the Bruins in that time. Just to start, generally, kind of how are you feeling about the Boston Bruins in this season? Do you think they're better than you thought they were going to be? Not as good as you thought they were going to be? Kind of properly rated? What's kind of your feeling about this team so far this season?
Yeah, I am pleasantly surprised. They had a rough start, as we all know. Definitely got off to a rocky start when the season first started.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary scoring wasn't showing up as much, and Pasta was looking really snake bitten. So it was a lot of worries there. It was mostly Martian carrying the team, but what else is new?
Yeah.
And the goaltending was average. It wasn't bad. It was definitely average. There's definitely some holes there and some things that needed to be improved upon and dealt with. But I mean, that hot streak they just had, winning 8 out of 9 to start off the new year in 2022. I did not see that coming. I did not expect it. But the biggest thing ever since they bumped Pasta to the second line, I think that has just changed everything and revamped everyone's attitude and chemistry. Although, I love seeing him on the first line, I hate saying it, the perfection line.
Yeah.
We all know like those are the top dogs, but
Yeah.
Bruce knew he had to do what he had to do. And when things aren't working, you switch it up, and hopefully he leaves it as is for now. Cause I really feel like since he was shifted to the second line, everything has changed and he is just on fire. And I'm so happy for him because I love seeing him smile and score and succeed. So
Yeah, for sure. We all know kind of the personal tragedy that he went through in the summer, and I'm sure that played some part of it early on. And it's really cool to see him back scoring, smiling. I've kind of said, one of the big things coming into the season was David Krejci leaving, obviously, second line center. But watching this team lately, it's like, yeah, Eric Hall has been good, but with Hall and Pasta on the wings, it almost kind of doesn't matter who plays second line center at the moment. Do you think that's still kind of a big area of need for this team, or do you think it's maybe something they can kind of live with and see if they can get by with Hala down the middle?
Yeah, at first it was my biggest concern, the second line center, like you said, Krejci leaving. It was like hit the panic button, like nobody can replace him. And there was so much speculation about, I know everyone's top choices, I think, were Charlie Coyle and Jack Studnicka,
Yeah.
and we obviously know that hasn't been the case
Yeah.
at all. So I think as of right now, they're okay in that department. Even Hall has been good. I'd like to see him do better, but with Pasta and Taylor Hall, he can thrive and he can get assists at least, and just generate that offensive production. So I think the second line center isn't the biggest deal right now. I think we're now shifting back to more defensive issues.
Right.
And also relying on Tuukka warming up and getting better. So for me, I'm not worried about the offense anymore, and that was everyone's biggest concern. They scored 7 goals against Washington
Yeah.
not too long ago, a couple weeks ago. So offense does not scare me anymore. It's more of the defensive mistakes that I've been seeing lately that really concern me.
Yeah. I still kind of am. Was looking for Don Sweeney to kind of make a move for Dylan Strome out of Chicago, but he's up on their top line right now, and he just scored a hat trick, kind of playing alongside Patrick Kane. So I don't know if that ship has sailed, maybe, or they want to keep hold of him, but he's still a guy that I am pretty high on Boston drafting. But who knows? Before we get into some other trade targets, I got to quickly talk about Built Bar. You ever heard of Built Bar, Caylee? Have you ever had a Built Bar?
No, never.
Well, you are missing out because they are the best tasting protein bars out there. They are covered in 100% chocolate, but they're also good for you. They have about 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that usually around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, dozens of net carbs. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you as well. They have so many amazing flavors to choose from, and they're always coming out with new limited time flavors as well. So check out built.com often to see what is new. When you're there, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. I want to thank everybody again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. Again, we're free and available on all podcast platforms. And for your second listen, I suggest the Locked On NHL podcast, Locked On Experts, covering the biggest stories around the NHL Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. So you kind of touched on Tuukka Rask, your Twitter namesake there. What are your thoughts on him so far since returning? I kind of look at it kind of like when Linus Ullmark joined the team, like he had never put he was jumping into a new system, new teammates, new city, kind of took some time to get adjusted to it all. Rask obviously knows the team, the system, but he didn't have the benefit of, a training camp, exhibition games, AHL conditioning. So in some ways we should expect not elite, performance right off the top. You think it's just a matter of time until he gets back to the Tuukka that we know and love, or is there reason to be concerned, you think, about his play so far?
I hope he gets back to it because it's hard to be the Tuukka defender when everyone
Yeah.
actually has a reason to be upset with him, because I
Mhm.
agree with them that he's not performing like he should. But the guy's played 4 games so far. He's had
Exactly.
4 starts. His game against Philadelphia was incredible. He stopped 2 breakaways.
Mhm.
He's really, I would say, underperformed in 3 out of his 4 starts so far. So again, definitely a cause for concern because, you send Swayman down and everyone's angry and everyone wants Swayman because he's going to be the number 1 eventually. We'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see. But everyone's angry that Swayman gets sent down. And I just don't think people realize that as of right now, you have to keep Tuukka and Allmark as your duo. Allmark has a no move clause, and Tuukka is the number 1 goalie, so he's
Mhm.
not going anywhere, and he signed a contract for the rest of the year. So I hate to say it, like, get over it, but it's going to
Yeah.
be Tuukka and Allmark. I love Swayman also. I adore him. I think he's incredible. He's definitely going to be the number 1 in the future, but his time will come.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of Tuukka getting used to everything again, and it also doesn't help when the defense craps the bed every
Right.
time he is in the crease. And
Mhm.
people tell me that I'm making excuses for Tuukka when I blame the defense. He's definitely let in a couple softies. He has.
Mhm.
He looks maybe a little slow, like he gets beat high or low, whatever, which is fine. I expected a little rust, and no goalie's perfect. He's still not perfect, even though he's
Yeah.
incredible. But every time he's in goal, like, just a massive defensive mistake. Like, even Carlo, like, is supposed to be one of the big guys, and he's like, I look at him and I'm like, Carlo, who are you covering? Where are you? Like, what are you looking at? Like,
Yeah.
just stupid. Like, Carlo has been a little shaky. Clifton's been a little shaky. Forbort even. It's
Yeah.
just, all of them have in the past few games have made mistakes you can visually point out and blatantly see. And then Tuukka, lets one in and it's automatically his fault. So
Yeah.
he has been a little soft, but the defense also needs to tighten up. And it really seems like it only happens when Tuukka is in goal. I don't
Yeah.
know if they're more lackadaisical because they trust him more, but he's getting virtually no help. I mean,
Yeah.
even in the Philadelphia game, he had to stop 2 breakaways. Like,
Mhm.
I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
Like, it's not his fault there was a breakaway, but he showed up and he was able to stop those breakaways from being goals. So
Yeah.
I think he will get back to it. I don't think he's washed. I don't think he sucks now.
No.
It's hard. He was supposed to play in the Providence Bruins game against
Mhm.
the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, but it was canceled due to COVID. So he literally got thrown in after major surgery and major time off. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see anyone play up to par after surgery and extensive time off
Yeah,
in
exactly.
today's fast-paced NHL.
Mhm. And
So
the first game he played was probably one of his best. Like you mentioned, that
mhm.
Philadelphia game. If you look at all the games he's played so far, only 4 games. The Carolina game is just a write-off for like the whole team. That is not on
Oh,
him at
yeah.
all. He did he only let in 2 goals against the Flyers in a win, only 2 goals against the Jets in a win, and then Monday against the Ducks, not his best performance, but there were some defensive issues as well. And I would imagine he'll start tonight against Arizona. And I mean, what better team to start building some confidence against than the Coyotes if he does indeed get that start. So I think he'll be fine overall. I'm not too worried about it. I kind of said on Twitter the other day, like, he should be in midseason form by the postseason, and that's the whole idea of bringing him back is for the playoffs. And as long as he's good by then, they should be fine. Like, they're not really in danger of missing out on a playoff spot at this point. I wanted to ask you about other guys who have played above or below expectations. Is there anybody on the Bruins this season that's kind of blown you away with how good they've played, or really disappointed you with how they haven't really stepped up or produced at all? Anybody stand out that way?
Yeah, and I actually just wanted to mention, like, about Allmark, the last game against the Avalanche. He had an incredible game, and they still lost. So it wasn't the goalie's fault, So I had to add that Allmark deserved that win 100%.
Yeah, he was
but it was just a frustrating game all around, and they blew a 3-1 lead. So, I definitely am impressed most, I would say, with Oscar Steen and Anton Bleed, the third and fourth line guys. Like we talked about earlier, the secondary scoring was such a rough spot, and didn't really know if any guys were going to score except for the top six. But I think both of them have been a great addition. It's been great to watch them. Bleed has, he has 8 points in 21 games played so far. It looks like Steen has 6 points in 15 games. So they're generating some offense, and it's really good to see those young guys and then, coming out and making a name for themselves and showing that they deserve to be in the lineup. And as well as Vakanainen. Especially with, the defensive issues. He has been one of the standout guys. I mean, last game he was paired with McAvoy. So I think it's really good to see him. And we had thought he scored his first goal, but it got taken away. I forget who that was against, but
what game was it? I can't remember either. But
we thought he scored his first goal and it got taken away. So hopefully he'll get that back soon. But it's really good to see him out there. He doesn't seem afraid to get in the dirty areas or make plays, so it's great to see him come about too, because the defense can use some work. I mean, I feel like every game there's some mistake you can point out with any defenseman. So with him, though, it's been pretty smooth sailing, and it's refreshing to see that. So hopefully he's earned his spot, and hopefully he can keep playing on maybe the first or second pairing for a while. So probably will be the first, because I know they want Carlo on the second with Riley usually. But that bottom pairing of Clifton and Forbort gives me so much anxiety.
I know. I was talking about that this morning, I think, on Twitter. Like, everybody continues to focus on, if you ask kind of what the Bruins need, everybody says second line center, like we mentioned earlier, or left-hand shot defenseman. But for me, with Vakanainen emerging, Jacobs Borrell played so great before he got hurt. I really look at the right side, and Connor Clifton is okay, but I don't see him as like a 82 game guy that's going to play every night into the playoffs. I really do think that if they're going to upgrade, they really need to add some depth on the right side and to kind of improve that way. Like, I'd even rather see like Forbort and Vakanainen on that third pair with Grzelcyk back with McAvoy. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the left side's still pretty weak, or do they need to maybe look elsewhere?
No, I agree with you 100%. I'm hoping at the deadline they could add someone on the right side. I don't know. I don't really know who is going to be available. It's just tough to also, I don't know if they'd be able to package DeBrusk in for something. But that's another thing. I do hate to see DeBrusk go because he's been playing pretty well as of late. But I definitely think, like you said, I don't think the left is as needed anymore. So definitely going to look on the right side now. It's just crazy how much the needs have shifted from, we need secondary scoring to, left shot defenseman, right shot defenseman. So it's kind of interesting to see how everything has moved and transitioned. I mean, who knows, maybe by the trade deadline, we'll think differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Depending on how some guys play. But I think, to me, the defense is not a Stanley Cup defense. So that's the thing that worries me most. I can't see those guys out there in a game 7 of any series putting their body on the line and being smart with the puck. So
yeah, before we get to kind of an outlook for the rest of the season, I just want to talk for a moment about BetOnline. There may be less football being played, but BetOnline has way more stuff to bet on this season. They have scores, totals, player performance, props to where the next fire coach is going to be. BetOnline, the number one spot for all things NFL betting in 2022. With the new year, they have a new updated desktop and mobile website. You can sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using promo code LOCKEDON to get started. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. So use promo code LOCKEDON to get that 50% welcome bonus. So Caylee, you mentioned Jake DeBrusk. Obviously, that's been a big story this season for the Bruins, kind of hanging over them. It seems like every time they might look to trade him, they kind of need him with now with Nick Foligno being injured. He's really playing well with Charlie Coyle and Steen, who you talked about before. I've read some stuff. I think Kevin Paul DuPont in the Boston Globe was writing about how it might just be better for him to kind of not suck it up, but just kind of like forget that happened and maybe stay with the Bruins. That might be his best opportunity for success. Do you think he's still going to be sent out at some point? And like, what do you think they could even get for him at this point?
Yeah, I think once he made up his mind that like he's not really going to go back. I mean, I obviously don't know him personally. I don't know his thoughts. I don't know if his confidence is coming back. I hope it is. I've always cheered for him. I've always wanted to see him succeed. I think he's shown so much grit and passion in the past, but he kind of lost that over time, but it's not really a fault of his own. It's because he's not playing the minutes he wants or on the line he wants. And I definitely think he could easily be a second line guy somewhere else. But he might not go to a team that's as successful or as high up in the standings.
Right.
So I would love to see him stay in Boston and succeed, since he's found a good spot alongside Coyle and Steen. And with those guys, I think those guys do have chemistry. He's obviously been playing with Coyle for a while, and I feel like they just find each other, and he's been able to score more. But the main thing is his happiness and his mental health. And if I know Edmonton was a huge possibility for him, since that's where he's from, but they just signed Evander Kane, so unfortunately. So I'm not sure what Edmonton's status on that is now, because I think that was the number one landing spot for him. I also know the Rangers were in talks to possibly acquire him. But for me, at the beginning, when the Bruins still needed secondary scoring, I was looking for Hurdle from the Sharks. That would be an incredible acquisition. And I was like, oh, they could package DeBrusk with maybe Stanika and like a first round pick. But now that the Bruins don't need secondary as much, in my opinion, I'm kind of leaning towards like, hopefully we can keep DeBrusk, because it would cost a lot to get Hurdle or a second line center, when I feel like the main issue, like we said, is the defense. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm really interested to see if he changes his mind. But I think, like I said, once your ego is kind of bruised and you're kind of set on that, I think he wants to stay the course and go somewhere else. And I mean, we also don't know what's going on in the locker room. We don't know his relationship with Bruce Cassidy. Not saying that
Yeah.
Not saying the locker room is bad. I mean, any locker room with Bergeron's probably a great presence, and Bruce seems like a good coach overall, but again, don't know them personally, so maybe
Right.
there's a strained relationship there that can't be mended, and
Right.
that will translate into resentment and poor performance down the line. So I hope he stays if that's what he wants, but if he wants to go, then I wish him the best. So
Yeah. I almost wonder too, like with him having come out and said it, whether it just seems very a hockey thing that like the team would kind of take that personally, or like, no, you said this, you want out, so you can't change your mind now. Like it's kind of a, that hockey mentality where if you don't want to be here, then you can't change your mind, kind of thing. And you're not that you're not welcome, but they're not just gonna kind of forget that he said he didn't want to be a Boston Bruin anymore, effectively. I wanted to get your take too on like I just saw that Nathan MacKinnon, I guess, is going to be out for at least 3 games with a concussion and a fractured nose after that Taylor Hall incident the other night. I talked on the podcast yesterday about how the Avs are mad that Taylor Hall didn't fight afterwards. I really didn't see any need for him to fight because it was McKinnon's stick that caused the injury. What were your thoughts on that whole incident and Taylor Hall's response afterwards?
yeah, it was a clean hit. There's no doubt about it. Every single person, I think, besides Avalanche fans thought it was a clean hit for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Even, the analysts that were talking during intermission on TNT and the articles I've read, there's no question. I mean, he didn't even have a hearing. Hall didn't have any type of discipline waiting for him.
Exactly.
Like you said, if you want to suspend someone, suspend McKinnon's stick, because it was just one of those awkward run-in type things. I mean, he didn't target his head. He didn't leave his feet. There was
Right.
no malicious intent. And Taylor Hall had no reason to respond to that, especially in such a close game against such a good team. I don't think he wanted to fight and go down a man or instigate anything or whatever.
Right.
So I think Hall was extremely smart because he knows what happened. He was the one that was standing right there and landing the hit. So it was just extremely awkward. I mean, when you first see it without the replay, it looks bad. You're like, oh my God, like he hit his head, he's bleeding, he's laying on the ground. And then you see the replay and you just see his stick like smush his whole face. So yeah,
awkward.
it's awkward. He really couldn't have avoided that type of chain reaction.
Exactly.
And it was annoying to see that. I mean, I get you have to stick up for your star player. It's Nathan MacKinnon.
Right.
So I do understand that they wanted to go after Taylor Hall, but I'm glad he didn't retaliate. I'm glad he didn't fight. It was pointless. He was able to focus on the game. So it's just frustrating to see people claim that it was dirty. And it's unfortunate he got injured. I mean, he's an amazing player. That's a huge loss for the Avs, but they're really good. So I think they'll be fine for a few games. But
true.
Nothing serious. It's just, you said it was a broken nose, or?
I think so, yeah. I think they're calling it like a facial fracture or something like that. But
hey, Martian
just a fancy,
that.
Yeah, exactly. Just a fancy word for broken nose, I think.
Yeah. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Last question for you about the Bruins. Overall, the way things stand now, obviously things can, and I assume they will change before the trade deadline. I think Don Sweeney is going to be active. But do you think the Bruins are kind of destined to be out in the first or second round, or do you think this team has the potential to maybe make one last kick at the cup with this?
Yeah, I think it depends on the deadline, like we discussed. I mean, but all that aside, right now, as we're standing today, I would say probably like another second round exit. If Tuukka is off, I mean, he's your ace in the playoffs. If Tuukka's off, not good.
Yeah.
If defense is off, not good,
Yeah.
obviously. And it's really going to come down to who they play.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just a few points behind Toronto.
Yeah.
If they win tonight, I think they'll be like 2 points behind them, I believe. So a game behind. So if the Bruins win tonight, they'll be super close. I know Toronto had a huge jump on the Bruins early on before this huge hot streak in the beginning of January. So they've improved a lot. What makes me most nervous would probably be the Lightning, just because they're
Yeah.
such a bigger and physical team. They've always just been they're just grinders. Like they score and they're tough and they're a lot bigger than the Bruins. So the Lightning have always scared me.
Yeah, for
No
sure.
way they three-peat though. So we can hope
Yeah.
the Bruins would knock them out. But also the Panthers are absolutely insane
Yeah.
this year.
They're
I've always
unbelievable.
advocated for the Panthers.
Yeah.
I've always been like, their time's coming. Like they're so underrated. They're gonna get there. So
Yeah.
they're just unbelievable this year. But they're also like a first round exit team
Mhm.
who doesn't have that much playoff experience. So
Yeah.
it could very much be detrimental to them.
Yep.
So again, coming down to the deadline and who they play. As of right now, I'm seeing a second round exit, but Panthers have to cool off sometime.
True.
They've been going hard since the puck dropped in October.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel like they might get a cold streak, and I'm a little nervous the Bruins will fall off a bit after the All-Star break because when they had all those gaps in the beginning of the season, they were not playing well. There was
right.
the COVID cancellations, and we
Yeah.
played like 1 game a week, and I feel like the Bruins play better when they have
Yeah, true.
every other night to play, because that's when that hot streak started. They had all those crammed games. I don't know what it is. I
Yep.
feel like they're just more alert and they're in the groove. So, and I think the Bruins like April month is jam packed. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I
true.
mean, it's nerve wracking seeing that before the playoffs when you
Yeah.
want them to rest. But for the Bruins, it seems like it jumpstarts them. So I'm optimistic, but it's going to have to come down to what they can do at the deadline because there's still some missing pieces.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. I'm with you there for sure. I always look at like what the lineup's like on opening night, what the lineup looks like after the trade deadline, and then whoever's still healthy going into the playoffs. That's like how you can judge what a team's chances are kind of in the middle of the season. There's so many variables. It's hard to tell. Before I let you go, first of all, congrats again on the new job. And I always like to ask people, away from hockey, is there anything that you're watching or enjoying right now that people should be aware of? Any shows you're binging these days on Netflix or anywhere else?
Yeah, so I just binged all of Euphoria,
Oh,
which is like the druggy teenager drama show.
yep,
And
yep.
I was like, oh, I'll never watch that. Like, it seems so corny. And I watched it and I just could not stop watching it. Like, I was behind. So I blazed through the whole first season in like a
Yeah,
week. And the episodes are an hour. So I was watching it like a lot. And then they're on the second season. There's only like 3 episodes, and I'm all
right,
caught
right,
up
right.
now with everyone else. So it's honestly an incredible show. Very inappropriate if you have children,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to let you know. So
yeah.
watch that after hours.
We
But
put the parental lock on that streaming service for sure.
yes, Euphoria needs 10 parental locks on it, but
Yeah.
it's really good. It's like, just drama, intense, and it's always ends like with a cliffhanger. So I've binged all of that. And then I think you watch Ozark too, but I'm
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
the
yeah.
latest season of Ozark. Have you started the new season yet?
We just finished the new season last night actually. So
Oh, you finished?
yeah, finished it last
Don't
night.
tell me what happens. 'Cause
So good. I can't wait for there's 7 more episodes to come, and I can't wait to see how it wraps up for sure.
So was it
So
a
good.
good season? Because I'm not gonna lie, I've been bored the first few episodes.
Yeah, it does start off a bit slow. That
Okay.
is, but it definitely picks up. I think they had to they introduced some new characters like that nephew of the drug guy,
Yep.
and but it definitely, the last few episodes, it definitely picks up and starts to come together for sure. It's
Okay.
really
I
good.
think I think I like stopped midway through episode 5 to watch the Bruins game. So
Okay.
I think I'm getting to where it starts to get crazy.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
won't say any spoilers, but up until now, that's been one of my favorite Netflix shows and
Oh
probably in
yeah.
like my top 10 shows. And I love Jason Bateman too.
Oh,
I think
he's
he's
so good.
incredible.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, so
I
I
love him so
I've
much.
I've loved it so far, and I was really disappointed with the new season so far, but everyone told me that it was like it gets really exciting. So I guess
Yeah.
I just have to wait.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely does. We watched 2 episodes yesterday, and it was very everything that's set up in the first few episodes starts to pay off and sets it up for the last 7, I guess. And I'm hopeful that I think Jason Bateman the other day said that we probably won't have to wait too long for the last 7, so I'm very excited for that for sure.
Awesome. Now I'm
Yeah.
excited to
Yeah.
finish it.
Well, Caylee, it was great to catch up, and thanks so much for jumping on. Congrats again on the new job. And where can people find you on social media and so they can follow along?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always good to talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
original friends
Nice.
from back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's number 2 Karask. So Tuukka Rask. I actually started my own podcast as well.
Oh
Now
yeah, I wanted to mention that too.
No, that's okay. We're fairly new. I think we're on episode 13. So fairly new. Been doing it for a couple months. I do it with my brother Cameron and my friend Alex. It's called Brewings and Things, and it's because we have 2 Bruins fan and a Red Wings fan. So we put a
Right.
little pun on it. But
Nice.
we cover all NHL. We've had some really cool guests so far. We had Mike Comito, who's an NHL historian and author. We've had AJ Galante, the former GM of the Danbury Trashers.
Oh
If you
yes,
haven't
very
seen
cool.
that, yeah, if you haven't seen
So
that on
good.
Netflix, it's incredible.
Yeah.
He's such an awesome guy. So is Mike. And then we had Tim Peel, former NHL referee.
Very cool.
That was an incredible episode. We got to pick his brain about rules and what he thinks about things. And I'll give a little spoiler. One of my favorite things he said is that he's not a big fan of Jordan Binnington and his
Oh,
attitude. So
very nice.
Tim Peel won me over when he said
Yeah, I
that.
respect that for sure.
Yeah, so it was super interesting. If you guys want to listen to that, Tim, AJ, and Mike were all fantastic guests. So we do try to get some amazing guests. And Ian, we definitely have to have you on one time
Yeah,
too.
I would love to.
So yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, it's called Brewings and Things, and the Twitter is BWAT Podcast. So you can also check out our podcast there.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Caylee, and have a good weekend. And hopefully, it is not this long until we chat again for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was fun. Appreciate it.
Cool. Well, that's it for today's podcast, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Back on Monday to talk about, well, you know what? I might actually do a bonus pod tomorrow because the Bruins play tonight and then on Sunday. So maybe we'll chat quickly about tonight's game against the Coyotes tomorrow and get you all caught up. So just subscribe and you'll never miss an episode here on Locked On Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.